We're moving on to topic 10, and we're going to work with matrices. In lesson 10.1, we're simply going to focus on operations with matrices. We're going to add and subtract and multiply by a scalar. And we'll use those three kind of concepts to help solve matrix equations. The definition of a matrix is simply a system of rows and columns. Within a matrix, you'll have several elements, and an element is simply one of those numbers or values in the matrix. To identify your element, you need to know what row and what column you're in. When you're asked to identify a matrix, the capital letter tells you what matrix to look at, and then the sub-numbers will tell you the matching or corresponding row and column. So let's take a look at example 1a on the right. We have two matrices, matrix A and matrix B. And we know those are the matrix names because they're designated with a capital letter. To figure out the dimensions of our matrix, we figure out the number of rows and then the number of columns. Now in matrix A, there are two rows. We have 2, -4, 6, and -1, 0, 8. So those are the two rows. So we literally will just write 2. Columns will be the vertical kind of connection. That should be a U right there. There we go. There's 1, 2, 3 columns. And when we identify matrices, we always go in that that order, number of rows and number of columns. That means matrix A is a 2 by 3 matrix, 2 rows, 3 columns. Matrix B over here on the right has 9, 8, 7. But if we take a look at the number of rows, there are 1, 2, 3 rows going from top to bottom. And there's only one column. So this would be defined as a 3 by 1 matrix. To identify a specific element, we need to know what matrix we're in, what row, and what column. For example B, it says, what is A sub 1, 2? So that 1, 2 means we're going to be in row 1, and then we want to be in column 2. So if I look at matrix A, row 1 is that top row. Column 2 is the middle column. They overlap at -4, and that is the element in matrix A sub 1, 2. How about B 3, 1? So that kind of little subset down below means we're in row 3 and column 1. Well, row 3 is that bottom row, and there's only one column, so then that's going to be 7. You guys try the last one, A 3, 2. Can you tell me the element in that location? How many of you found that to not be possible? If we want row 3 and column 2, looking at matrix A, there's row 1, row 2, but there isn't a row 3. And because there isn't a row 3, that means this element is not possible. Keep in mind that your number of rows and your number of columns will always be particular. We're not just going to try to flip-flop them around if we ever needed to. It always is rows first, columns second. If you have matrices that are equal to each other, they have to have the same dimensions. So the rows for the first matrix must equal the rows for the second matrix and columns to columns. And if the matrices are equal, you simply just kind of match up their corresponding elements. In the example on the right, it says if C equals D, solve for each variable. That would mean each element in matrix C has to be identical to the one in B. Taking a look at that first spot right here, row 1, column 1, row 1, column 1. Both of those are already equal to each other, therefore no variable needs to be solved for. But if we move over to the right, take a look at row 1, but now that second column, we have 3x plus 2, and then we have 23. If we want to solve for the variable, we should recognize that those elements need to be equal to each other. And to get x by itself, if we subtract 2, 3x is equal to 21. Divide both sides by 3. In order for this to be a true statement, x would have to equal 7. All right, let's keep going. Down below in row 2, I've got a 0 in that first column. I didn't want to highlight that though. There we go. I've got a 0 here, and then negative 7y plus 3. Now those corresponding elements should match. Therefore, our equation would be 0 equals negative 7y plus 3. Let's get y by itself. I'll subtract 3 to move it over. And then we'll divide both sides by negative 7. Recognizing that we have two negatives that would cancel in that fraction, 3/7 doesn't reduce, so we'll leave our answer in fraction form. And then last but not least, our final element, row 2, column 2, is already a match, no more variable to solve for. This will honestly be kind of what your homework looks like today. A far cry from factoring and stating restrictions, so hopefully we find this lesson to be manageable and maybe even somewhat enjoyable. The next up on our tasks would be adding and subtracting matrices. I don't know why the subtracting is in red, it wasn't meant to be. Anytime you add and subtract matrices together, you have to have matching dimensions once again. And then we literally combine our corresponding elements by either that addition or that subtraction. If we're going to add m plus n, notice M is a 2 by 2 matrix, 2 rows and 2 columns, so is matrix N. So we know their dimensions are the same because they kind of look like the same size and shape. To add M and N together, we're literally just going to add the corresponding elements. In that first spot right there, I would take the first element in row 1, column 1, the first element in row 1, column 1, and add them together. Negative 3 plus 6 is positive 3. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll just move right on over to the right. We have a 5 and a 5. If we add them together, we get 10. You go ahead and do the bottom row. Add those corresponding elements together. Hopefully you got negative 6 and negative 4. Now let's go ahead and reverse the order for that addition to see what happens. If we start with matrix N and we add M to it, again in that first spot, now I'll take the first element in N, match it up with the first element in M, and add them together. But notice what happens. 6 plus negative 3 is still 3. If we take the second element in that row and add them together, we still get 10. The negative 8 plus 2 would be negative 6. And then negative 4 plus 0 would be negative 4. So down below, do you guys all see where it says, what do you notice about addition? If you flip-flop the order, would you get the same answer when you add? That answer is yes. So addition you can add in any order and still get the same solution. That's called commutative. C-O-M-M-U-T-A-T-I-V-E. When you can add in any order and reverse the order of the matrices, that's a commutative property. Let's see what happens when we subtract. If we start with M minus N, and we take our corresponding elements, negative 3 and 6. Well, negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9. 5 and 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. 2 and negative 8. So watch this one. 2 minus negative 8 would be positive 10. And then 0 minus negative 4 would be 0 plus 4, which is 4. That would be the order M minus N. I want you to try the reverse order, N minus M, and see what you get. Fill in your matrix with those 4 element solutions. When I did that, I got 9, 0 in the first row, negative 10 and negative 4 in the second row. So what do we notice about subtraction? And you maybe even already knew this would be the case. Order does matter when you subtract. And we've talked about that lots of times throughout the semester and the school year. Adding is commutative. You can really add in any order at any time, but subtraction is pretty particular to its order. We have a slight introduction with multiplication by involving a scalar with our matrix. A scalar is simply a coefficient of the entire matrix. If it's out in front of the capital letter, you'll simply distribute it to all of the elements on the inside. It says determine for A if A is a set or is the matrix 2, -4, 6, -1, 0, 8. Remember again, A has 2 rows and 3 columns. So it is a 2 by 3 matrix. If we want to multiply everything in that matrix by a quantity or a scalar of 4, again, literally, you guys, we're just distributing that 4 in. It's kind of a nice lesson. Distribute it to the top and distribute it to that bottom row. 2 times 4 is 8. -4 times 4, -16. 6 times 4, 24. -1 times 4 is -4. 0 times 4 stays 0. And then last but not least, 8 times 4 is 32. And that is your new matrix. That's what a scalar does. We'll end our lesson given 4 unique matrices, A, B, C, and D. It says perform the following operations. So in example A, we're going to add B and C together. If you look up at matrices B and C, matrix B has 3 rows and 2 columns. But matrix C has 2 rows and 3 columns. If you're asked to add them together, we can only add when the matrices have exact matching dimensions. Therefore, this is not possible. But then we go into example B. This is going to be possible, and there's quite a bit of work to do here. It says 2 times matrix C minus 3 times matrix D. Notice C and D are both 2 by 3 matrices. Let's first double matrix C. If we take matrix C and distribute a 2 to everything on the top and bottom, we would get 24, 0, and 0 in the first row. In the bottom row, we'd have 0, 30, and -18. We want to subtract, so let's keep our subtraction symbol there. And then I'm going to take a 3 and distribute it to matrix D. 3 times -5 would be -15. 3 times 7, 21. 3 times -3, -9. In that bottom row, 3 times -4 would be -12. 3 times -8 would be -24. And last but not least, 3 times 2 is 6. So now if we subtract the 2 matrices together, or subtract one from the other, remember we're going to subtract corresponding elements. So what that means is I'm going to take for my subtraction problem 24 minus -15. So watch that negative right there. 24 minus -15 would be 24 plus 15, and that's 39. All right, I'd like you to pause the video and combine the rest of the elements in this subtraction problem. Hopefully you had 39, -21, +9, 12, 54, and -24. And that's what you get when you subtract. Now we have another one at the end, but I'm sure, I would hope at least at this point, you get the idea of adding and subtracting and multiplying by a scalar. So I'd like to just go down to example 5B towards the bottom. Our final example, it says use the same matrices to solve for capital X. Capital X means matrix X. So what I would do in this equation is get X by itself first. Now this is a pretty easy scenario. If 2A plus X is equal to -4D, we could simply move matrix 2A to the other side. So in theory, we get X by itself. Now we just need to simplify this problem. Let's go ahead and take matrix D and we'll multiply it by -4. If we do that part first, looking up above at matrix D, -5, 7, -3, -4, -8, and 2. If we multiply everything by -4, we would get positive, whoops, sorry about that. Let's get a pen to go here. Here we go. We would have positive 20, then -28, and that last element in that row, positive 12. In the second row, in the first column, we'd get 16 if we multiply by -4, positive 32, and -8. So that's -4D. So then we're going to subtract 2A. So now go up and look at matrix A. 5, -7, 3, 4, 8, -2. And let's multiply everything in that matrix by 2. We would get 10. Oh, I did that again, didn't I? We'd get 10. And then we'd have -14 and positive 6. And then in the second row, we'd have 8, positive 16, and -4. All right, the final thing we need to do here, and I need just a little bit more space to make this happen, is the actual subtraction. So go ahead and one last time, please, pause the video, subtract these two matrices together, and that will be what matrix X equals. So I'm just going to write X equals, and you determine the 6 elements for our solution. Did any of you notice that our solution matrix is the same as what our second matrix was in the subtraction problem? In that top row, you should have 10, -14, and 6. And in the bottom row, we should have 8, 16, and -4. And this is lesson 10.1.